The New York State Department of Transportation presents the DOT POD.
And welcome into the DOT POD. I'm Josh Heller.
And I'm Anya Kardos.
And we are delighted to have you joining us. Well, thank you for joining us on this very special episode as we mark, you ready, 1 year of the DOT POD. Yes. Bask in it. Bask in it.
Happy birthday, DOT POD.
Yeah.
Today we're looking back on a fantastic year, right? This was a good year. We talked about initiatives, innovations, and sharing incredible stories from the dedicated folks behind the New York State Department of Transportation, from sustainable solutions and worker safety to a lot of our history-making projects that are going on right now, reshaping and reconnecting our communities. We have had the pleasure of sitting down with all the passionate and talented people behind this department who are truly leading the way on this journey of our evolving landscape in New York State.
And today we're sharing just some of the highlights from these amazing, insightful discussions. So let's get started. As Marie would say, let's start at the very beginning. It's a very good place to start.
Let's take it from the top.
It's a Sound of Music reference, in case anyone wondered. Yes. So our first episode featured Harry White, bridge engineer by day and stand-up comedian by night.
So why Harry?
Good question.
Well, this goes back to our initial mission here. And this is what we talked about before we even started this podcast, to explore the people behind the projects and the initiatives going on here. And we really thought that Harry White presented a great opportunity for us to do this. He told us during this episode that as a kid, he always loved performing, but his folks put the brakes on those dreams. So he buckled down, he went to college, he got his degree in civil engineering, and then in 1992, he landed a job here at DOT. But he really never lost his love of comedy. And while he's not doing stand-up or working gigs as a DJ, he's bringing his unique blend of fun and technical expertise to work meetings and events. You're widely known here for being an exceptional speaker and using your humor to kind of explain really highly technical concepts, but adding a little dash of humor to make them compelling. Where did this start?
Well, mostly it started because I was subjected to a lot of technical presentations that were not interesting. The information is always good, but it came in a way that, you're getting the information, but not much else. So when I give presentations, I try to make sure that the people want to be there. Give them that little bit extra to help them pay attention. In the world of cell phones, you don't want them, drifting off into their Facebook or their Twitter. You want them focused on what it is that you're saying so that you can get your point across. But for me, comedy started a really long time ago. I used to sneak out of my room down the hall and watch the comedians on The Tonight Show, which proves two things. I didn't sleep a lot, and I really enjoyed stand-up comedy.
When were you able to kind of combine those two things together, right? Kind of combine not only, your love of performing, but also, the work that you clearly find enriching here?
From day one. There's no time that I'm going to stand up in front of a crowd of people and not try to make it interesting for them. Technical speaking is a low bar, because as long as you get the required information to the audience, you're already a success. Anything you do beyond that is a bonus both for them and for you, because it makes it interesting for the presenter and for the audience.
We've truly enjoyed incredible conversations with a wide array of DOT employees. These discussions were often insightful, sometimes funny, and many times really moving.
And they all had their unique vibes, but every single story highlighted a strong passion that defines this department and the interests that fuel them beyond work. Take, for example, Mike Rossi, who leads the department's Office of Data Management, who's also a karate guru and demonstrated how he's got the chops for the job. Pun intended. As an instructor, in martial arts in general, what kind of effect outside of the dojo does that have? On your work and on what you do here, your leadership, that you have. Is there a connection there? I feel like there would be.
I think there is. In terms of I'm not going to say leadership qualities, but definitely I have a personality where I want to attack the problem. right? So if there's a problem going on, it's like, well, we should probably do something about this, right? I'm very action-oriented that way. And I don't know if martial arts brings that out in people or if people with that bent get into martial arts and stay in it, right? But either way, it's this definitely like this virtuous cycle, right, of being action-oriented gets rewarded. And then, you say, cool, I'm going to continue to do that, right?
And Josh, there was that other episode where you and Deb Nelson, the department's director of the Office of Policy Planning and Performance, talked a lot about a mutual love as well, and that is hockey.
We would be remiss if we didn't bring up this. So for those who don't know, Deb and I have a very deep connection in that we both have had kids who play hockey, and hockey is a huge part of our lives. My son is 7; he just finished his first season playing mite hockey, and Deb, you had all your kids play hockey, and you yourself played hockey. We need to talk about this. For those of you who know Deb and does not know that she played hockey, it's awesome. And there are pictures. I don't have them, but there are pictures. I have seen them, and they're fantastic. See those. They are fantastic. But talk about that. I know that's it's always whenever I walk in, Deb's like, "How's your weekend?" Because my weekend was filled with hockey. Because that's how it goes.
That's how it goes.
But it's fantastic.
Being on the ice with a bunch of women from all walks of life was so great because I got to put aside being the mom or the wife or the professional, the supervisor. And it was also really good for my kids because they were young and they got to see mom as someone who has a life and gets to get out there and kick some butt.
We all have our own journeys that bring us to our positions here at DOT. Janet Ho, Assistant Commissioner for Finance and Integrated Modal Services, shared that back in college, she pictured herself working quite a different job. In fact, working in criminal justice. So let's start by talking about your background prior to getting here, going to school. So you went to school for and psychology, criminology, law and society at the University of California, Irvine. Do you expect to be working for Department of Transportation?
Oh, I totally didn't expect to be working for the Department of Transportation. And anyone who actually looked at me and saw me originally when I was going to school for those things, I totally thought, okay, well, maybe I'm going to go into law enforcement. It's like, really, you're 5'2". But I'm one of those fluffy people that as you go through your school career and you have your life experiences, sometimes opportunities just open up. And sometimes the path you take, you never know where you're going to land. And transportation is where I landed and not in law enforcement.
We've learned a lot over this past year about the wide array of initiatives that the New York State DOT is involved and invested in, from striking a balance between public safety and the environment to our history-making projects and initiatives that are bringing about positive change within our very own communities.
We're talking about our partnerships with colleges like SUNY Cobleskill and their internship program, which is a pathway to jobs at DOT, as well as reconnecting communities in every corner of this state with different projects, one of them being the I-81 Viaduct project, the largest initiative in DOT's history, as well as its local hire initiative that's lifting up the community with training in construction and jobs right on that project. Caden, talking about this kind of training, and that's critical to all of this, not just interest and outreach, but really real-world hands-on training. What do students get when they enter into this program?
Yeah, so when students enter into this program, really they're entering into a shop-like atmosphere. They're being exposed to diesel engines, transmissions, hydraulics, all the electrical systems that you would see on every piece of equipment. We have a lot of industry partners, DOT, Anderson Equipment, Milton Caterpillar, that we have lots of equipment for them to work with. We are a John Deere tech school, so we get a lot of support from John Deere as well. And the students, they come in, we link them with a dealership or some sort of thing where they're going to be working on the equipment. So we try to link them and get them into a career. But while they're here, they're learning how to fix the stuff. We go around, we put bugs in things and try to get them to understand how to accurately diagnose it and follow through and fix it and make it right.
a lot of times we just throw specs on something and expect them to work. This was us putting our meat and potatoes in the pot and saying, all right, we're going to help this ecosystem work so that way people are not just getting a job, because I think it's more than a job. It's a career. Working in construction is a career. Now, yeah, you bounce around and you do different things, but the city of Syracuse in this region is about to see some of the biggest construction years it's ever had. And so now what 81 is doing, what the department's doing, is we're kind of like becoming this major training ground for projects in the future. And then the other part of it, selfishly, is because this is the type of project it is, the size and everything like that, people are going to get skills that they could not get on other projects. You know, some of the things we're going to do, not only speed wise, but like equipment we'll be using, different ways to build things more efficiently and easier. Like those are the other parts where people are going to start a career with this project that they're going to get skills they could have probably never gotten in 30, 40 years that they're going to get because they're working on this project.
One key topic that came up a lot in our discussions surrounded our DOT trailblazers. In our Women's History Month episode, we highlighted the incredible stories of the women of DOT who are truly paving the way for more inclusion and equity within the department. Stephanie Winkelhake, our first female chief engineer, opened up about her own experience joining DOT when it was largely a male-dominated field.
So I started in the DOT in 2005 with the Office of Design and a design squad as a junior engineer. In design, I would say the majority were male, less females, but still a good percentage. I left there in 2006 and went to the Office of Structures. Being in the Office of Structures started, once again, I am still junior engineer. I do believe a lot of the women that came in before me, very few that were there, definitely had more challenges than when I came in to the office in 2006. There's still that stereotype a lot of times with people where as a woman and you have kids, you should be home with your children. So you do see that. Definitely watching over the years, it has changed. Just watching at the supervisory level, there's a lot more females now in engineering in those supervisory roles than there were years ago.
Someone who really underscored all these perspectives is our own commissioner, Marie-Therese Dominguez, who shared her own unique journey with us when she joined Civil Service Commissioner Timothy Hogues on an episode highlighting New York helps as a pathway to public service.
But the point is that you want leaders who care about people, because if you don't focus on people, nothing gets done. And my mantra is always, at DOT, our people are our secret sauce. We do amazing things on a daily basis, amazing things, build bridges, fix roads, literally connect people at every moment of their day. And we only get that done when we have an incredibly dedicated and focused workforce. And that's why being able to remove these barriers to entry, it's removing barriers of all sorts. It gives everybody equal access to the system. You're not reliant on a test. Not everybody performs well on a test. And you take away some of those barriers and wow, look what you can do. Look the people that you have access to and the people that want to come to work in civil service, because it truly is a calling. You said it before, Brian, and it's very true.
And of course, there were times when the conversations on the DOT POD got pretty intense and very emotional. For us, these moments really hit home. Like when we sat down with Karen Torres, who lost her father to an accident in a DOT work zone when he was struck by a distracted driver. You have there's an event here where we're gathering today with all of us, and this is a training event for DOT employees here in the Utica area. How do you shift that story so that they understand too their own role in this too? Is that what you're trying to share here?
Absolutely, because safety isn't just 9 to 5 or when you're at work, right? It's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And in my own opinion, I feel that, we're driving long periods of time, right? Or after we start driving, many years, we become a little laxed, right? Oh, I've done this a million times. I could do it another time. So I'm here really today to say that, you know what? It just takes that 1 second. It doesn't matter how long you've been driving. You can't be lax. You have to be on your game. And I think they can relate to me because they are on the road, right? So they are workers. They know what I'm talking about. It's all about situational awareness.
Then there was our 9/11 anniversary episode, where we met with retired DOT employees at the 9/11 Memorial and Museum in Manhattan, including Mukesh Desai, who witnessed the tragedy firsthand that day.
So we crossed the West Side Highway and we were walking on the bikeway from West Thames Street to Albany Street. While we were walking, second plane came from the south side, just passed over our head, and as you turn your head, it disappeared into number 2 World Trade Center building. We all got so scared, we started running, away from the World Trade Center. We run little bit further south and then waited and watching these 2 buildings. And Albert Pozzotrigo said, Mukesh, this building is tilting. It may collapse. I said, Albert, if it's building gonna collapse, where we are waiting is not safe. I finished the sentence, and whole building came down. And we turned around, all 4 people went in different directions. And I was running towards Battery Park City and then towards the Rector Street. I may have walked not like 100 feet, and you see the all stone aggregates were falling in front of you. And then within a few seconds, I was covered with the dust from head to toe. Completely, everything was covered and I could not see anything. So I started, but I was keep shouting, help, help, help. And there was a bellboy or whatever in the rector place, building. He came out and he grabbed my collar and pulled me inside.
We've had some discussions that you might not expect from the New York State Department of Transportation, but they're definitely a part of our work. Some of these showcased how we're all about supporting the environment. Let's talk about the Adirondack Road Salt Reduction Task Force, was spearheaded by NYSDOT and the Department of Environmental Conservation, focused on winter road management practices within the Adirondack Park. Can you share why the work of the task force was important and where we go from here now that the report has been issued?
Well, it's a great question, Josh. The task force was an acknowledgement that road salt is a concern. We need to be aware of it. We need to manage it. And the task force itself, not just the state agency members, but all of the members involved were tremendous partners. They put in a lot of work, and they put out a report that I think we can all be proud of. Every task force member can be proud of. But one of the things that I think it did for us was that it really validated our program in many ways. It really showed that New York State DOT has a state-of-the-art program. We have state-of-the-art equipment. We have top-notch operators. We have a great training program. But that doesn't mean that there's no room for improvement. Every snow and ice program, we know there's room to evaluate your program and to make improvements and make adjustments. And that's something that we're really looking forward to doing as we get into these pilot programs a bit more.
So let's talk about what the Department of Transportation is doing to protect these pollinators. What are some of the things that are being implemented right now and being looked at as ways that we can help protect our pollinators?
Well, efforts have been ongoing. I think this is an issue that maybe the department hasn't talked a lot about in the past. And it seems like maybe with last year or so, we've been starting to talk about it more, which is a very positive thing, I think, both internally and externally. But there have been some ad hoc efforts going on in different regions for quite a while. Back in 2008, the department really pulled in the extent to which we mow. And there were many reasons for doing that, basically energy conservation and other things. But after a few years of that, we noticed natural wildflower regeneration was going on in the right-of-way where we weren't mowing as much. That led to some pilot projects out in the region. How can we tweak our mowing or do things along that lines to support this natural regeneration? We own a lot of right-of-way. And if that can be used for benefit while still being worked into our program and in a way that our maintenance forces can handle it, we thought that would be a big positive. And the support for that was pretty widespread. We didn't have to sell too hard to start to get traction.
And there's also the fun stuff, like the department's role in turning the dream of a community skate park into a reality in Rochester. And let's not forget the annual Boilermaker Road Race in Utica, where the New York State Department of Transportation has been involved for decades, helping to plan and set up the race route, plus having employees participate in the race. All of these chats were a blast.
Well, we had a chance to talk with the Director of Programs and Park Stewardship with the City of Rochester, Sarah Scott. Let's hear what she had to say and your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, there would be no skate park without the DOT and the city, without the DOT being willing to even entertain this idea. And other cities have reached out to Rochester, to kind of figure out how did this partnership work? How did what were the conversations like? And it's an ongoing conversation.
That's very nice to hear because that's important. We can't be successful if we're not having good partnerships with the locals, with the community, with groups. We all have to work together, and that's very nice about this because it wasn't just DOT in the city; it was also the community, the Friends of the Skate Park that had a big role in this.
When we're closing off roads, and this is often the case, when it comes to DOT, and whether it's for work or whatever, it's an inconvenience. There's no question about it. There's an inconvenience for the community. But, it seems like the community is so bought in here that they expect it, they know it, they're prepared for it, and they welcome it. It's not an inconvenience anymore.
Not really. Again, with the things that DOT does for us, the variable message signs, the permanent ones, the portable ones, they have them out all over the place. And again, the week before, expect traffic delays, getting the message out to the public. People in Utica know, but still sometimes they forget, whatever. But they're out, the signs are out there, they're getting changed, the message is getting changed, daily to keep everybody apprised of what's going to happen, what's not going to be able to, where you're not going to be able to go. Again, it's just what DOT does to help us, help the community, and just make everything better for the race.
If you're a frequent visitor, and let's face it, who isn't, you know that Josh and I love wrapping up our episodes on a very positive vibe. So when time allows for it, we ask our guests to share their top DOT road trips and their go-to road tripping tunes. So Josh, I've been dying to ask you this. It's been a year. What is your favorite DOT road trip and your favorite road tripping music or song?
So I've been giving this some thought, as is necessary. So I guess for road trip, probably my favorite road trip that I have done is a few years ago. My wife and my son and I, we traveled out to Niagara Falls. We stopped off in Lockport on the way and took a tour of the Erie Canal and actually went into the locks themselves, which was super cool. And just heading out there and just remember the conversations that we had and just the probably the longest drive we've been on with my son and. When he wasn't looking at his iPad, it was a lot of fun. It was a great time for the family there to go out and then to see the falls. So I suppose that would be the road trip as far as music is concerned. My goodness, it depends who's in the car with me, but in general, I do listen to podcasts. Not this one specifically, but I do listen to podcasts in the car. If I'm listening to the music, I kind of going right now back between two stations. One of them is 90s and 2000s grunge, and one of them is 90s and 2000s heavy metal.
Yes.
And I kind of go back and forth between the two. But I will say, that my father raised me well, and I do have the classic rock stations. I do have the Beatles station, so it's fairly eclectic. I'd like to think, but I guess recently I've been in a kind of a nostalgic 90s, 2000s type of groove.
Oh, yeah.
So
I've heard plenty of
me.
Pearl Jam in the car with you
No,
when we're on
nothing
our
wrong
own
with
road
it.
trips.
Listen, it's fine. It's fine. So how about you, Anya? What is your favorite road trip, and what are you jamming to?
I would say any road in the Adirondacks I really enjoy, especially driving through the High Peaks region. That's just stunning to me. It's my aunt who came to visit from Michigan, which is pretty flat. She said it reminded her of like Switzerland. And you do really kind of feel like you are maybe in a different country there. You just feel separated from the rest of the world and in a very peaceful, serene place. And I absolutely love that. And it's always changing. And, the seasons give it a different vibe every time you go through. So I really love that. And I do like bringing, going with my family and our boys. And when they're, off their phones too, we have a good time and they acknowledge us, stuff like that. As far as music goes, it's really hard for me to answer because I like so many different genres. And, but I got to say, what I typically listen to when I'm up north in the North Country is Steely Dan.
Oh, all right.
I am a real yacht rock kind of a gal. So
nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
With a little dash of eclectic in there.
Well, as we close this first year, this first year of the DOT POD, we want to say happy birthday to our adorable mascot, Daryl the Barrel.
Daryl, we love you.
Hopefully you've seen him out and about. Our cute little sidekick was lovingly created by our Office of Communications colleague, Amy Colazzo-Shivo, and you may have seen him at the Great New York State Fair and other DOT events, and hopefully you'll see him out and about in the future. Take a selfie with him. Go for it.
Oh, yeah.
He'd love to have that. And mentioning Amy, we do want to give thanks to the entire communications office, without which this podcast never would have been conceived, let alone knocked off the ground. So, of course, thank you to Commissioner Marie-Therese Dominguez, to our fearless leader, Joe Morrissey, and like I said, to everyone else in the communications office, Carol Breen, Gina DeSaro, Audrey Ruffanen, Rick Hyde, Mike Allen, once again, Amy Colazzo-Shivo, and Paige Allen as well. So thank you to all of our team for who all do their little part to help us do this each and every time, and let us have some fun. Let us do the fun part. Let us have all the good times.
We have a really great team here. Thanks so much, guys.
Absolutely. And most of all, as we conclude this, kind of reflective episode, we want to thank all of our guests, certainly, and all of you, our listeners, for joining us and sticking with us on this journey over this past year.
That's right. Your feedback has really helped shape many of our conversations that you've heard over this past year. So please stay connected to us and send us your thoughts and topics, anything that you want us to cover in the future. We really like getting that. Together, we are going to continue to pave the way forward for a better future for everyone.
Well, Anya, congratulations to you and to me for making it through a year. Not that was ever in doubt, but it's been a blast.
I've had such a good time.
Well, until next time, drive safe and make room for all of our dedicated, hardworking DOT employees. They are working hard to keep you safe, so please keep them safe too. And until next time, we'll be right here on the DOT POD.